Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. This is the Ukraine front update and I will not be able to use the Russian site that I usually use because the Russians are slackers, but I will use only the Ukrainian side of the story. I will use the Russian article, but that's from yesterday. I will use only the map so you can identify where is what and who's who. I'm starting with the Ukrainian article coming from Ukrinform, which is Thursday, April 13, 2023, over there in Ukraine. So this is from the 12th of April 2023, the update from 8 o'clock, 8:03. Ukrainian defense forces repelled 34 Russian attacks in 4 directions. So the Ukrainian defense forces have repelled 34 attacks by Russian forces in the Lyman, Bakhmut, Avdiivka and Marinka directions in the past day. These are the same suspects. Here you have it. This is where they are, this area right here. This is Bakhmut, Avdiivka, Marinka and Lyman is somewhere here, right? So this is from the 11th, so I'm not going to use whatever they have in their little bullets here. So I'm going to use it as geographical reason, to show you where it's what. The Ukrainians usually start in explaining what's going on here at the border with Belarus, and then they go to Chernihiv, Sumy, Kharkiv, Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporozhye, and then they go to Kherson. So let's see what the Ukrainians are saying. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine reported this on Facebook, publishing operational information as of 6 o'clock p.m. on Wednesday, April 12th. Despite significant losses in equipment and manpower, the Russian army is still focusing its efforts on conducting offensive operations in these areas. Ukrainian defense forces carried out 6 attacks on the areas where the enemy's personnel and military equipment were concentrated, and also shot down an Orlan-10 drone. Meanwhile, Ukraine's missile forces and artillery hit 4 areas of concentration of enemy manpower, weapons and military equipment, an ammunition depot and a Russian radar station. The Russian forces carried out 19 airstrikes and more than 10 attacks from multiple launch rocket systems on the positions of the defense forces of the infrastructure of settlements, resulting in, of course, civilian casualties. The General Staff warns that the likelihood of enemy missiles and airstrikes remains high throughout Ukraine. The operational situation in Volyn, Polisia, Siviersk and Slobozhanshchinya sectors has not changed significantly, and some units of the territorial troops of the Russian armed forces continue to be on the territory of the Republic of Belarus, according to Ukrainian armed forces. So they were talking about this. So there's nothing here. They're just moving around and they keep some Ukrainian army positioned here so they cannot join them here. Basically, that's what it is. They got about 10,000. I think they had about 10,000. I think now they have about 7,000. Now that you can't do much with those, but anyway. The inspection of the combat readiness of the Belarusian armed forces continues comprehensively, with some formations and units brought to the highest levels of combat readiness. The units involved in the inspection are manned by conscripted reserve servicemen. Russia continues to maintain certain units in the districts of Kursk, Belgorod regions bordering Ukraine and equip the area with engineering equipment. So they are talking about this area, Kursk and Belgorod, right here. Back to these guys right here. Hostile attacks occurred in various areas, including, and they give us 1, 2, 3 in Chernihiv. So they want to talk about what occurred here. The Russians, yes, they said did not occur anything right here. Chernigov by the Russians, Chernihiv by the Ukrainians, Sumy, and Kharkov by the Russians, Kharkiv by the Ukrainians. So hostile attacks occurred in various areas, including 3 settlements in Chernihiv, and then about 5, 6 settlements in Sumy region, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 settlements in Kharkiv region. In the Kupiansk sector, Topoli, Krasne Pershche, Zvorichnya, Zapedne, and Kindrashivka in Kharkiv region came under Russian fire. So they were talking about this, something in Kharkiv. Just fire, just shelling, no attack. Now, this is where the offensive is, in this area, right here, in Marinka. In the Lyman sector, the invaders conducted unsuccessful offensives in the area of Bilohorivka over the past day. And they get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in Luhansk region came under enemy artillery fire. So they tried here in this area and artillery fire here. Let's make it like this. But the Russians have different. You see this Lyman. This is Lyman right here. But they have different names for certain kind of towns. They're called differently. Like for instance, Artemovsk right here, it is Bakhmut for the Ukrainians. So in this area, they were talking here, and they're going to go down to Bakhmut. They're going to go down to Avdiivka and then Marinka. In the Bakhmut sector, the Russians continue to conduct offensive actions, attempting to take full control of Bakhmut. Supposedly, the Wagner group said they already control more than 80% of Bakhmut. And the Ukrainians, I covered that in a different video, the Ukrainians started digging trenches west of Bakhmut, and fierce fighting continues. Russian troops made unsuccessful offensive attempts in the area north of Kromove and near Bohdanivka. In this section of the front line, the defense forces repelled about 18 enemy attacks. So let's go and look over the map here in Artemovsk and Bakhmut. So this is how Bakhmut looks, and I think this is gonna happen right here. So they say in the article that I covered in a different video that the Ukrainians are building trenches, are digging trenches. Now I don't know how close, probably outside of the reach here, so they're not gonna be surrounded as well. So probably they're gonna do it further here. I don't think they're gonna do it here because these guys are gonna pinch them right here. I'm expecting that. All right, so in Vasyukivka, Hrihorivka, Bohdanivka, Bakhmut, Ivanivske, Kurdyumivka, Druzhba, and Zaliznie in Donetsk region suffered from hostile shelling. At the Avdiivka and Marinka directions, these are the ones a little bit south of Bakhmut, the Russian army conducted offensive actions in the areas of Marinka, Pobeda, and Novomika, Jesus Christ, in Donetsk region, but was unsuccessful. Even if I read you this, you're not gonna care. I mean, unless right here you see it, take it and look where that is, because it's really, I'm breaking my tongue here. I couldn't believe that. I mean, I can read a lot of languages. I didn't think that the Ukrainians have this kind of Jesus Christ. The fiercest fighting in this area of the front line is taking place near Marinka, where 14 enemy attacks were repelled, noted the general staff. So, let's go here. There we got here, where is Avdiivka here. Again, the same situation as Bakhmut, to be surrounded. And here is Marinka that they are talking about right now. So, the Russian fired at Keramik, Novo, blah blah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and in Donetsk region. In the Shakhtarsk sector, that's south of Avdiivka and Marinka, Russian troops did not conduct any offensive actions over the last day. But instead, they struck Vuhledar and in Donetsk region. Vuhledar is south right here. It's Ugledar by the Russians, Vuhledar by the Ukrainians. So it's shelling. Now we're going to move to Zaporozhye, which is right here, and then we're going to move here to Kherson. In the Zaporozhye and Kherson directions, the invaders are on the defensive, specifically in Donetsk region. They give some settlements here, and in Zaporozhye region and in Kherson region came under enemy fire. So they say that the Russians are shelling here, but you see, the red stuff is where the Russians are shelling, and it doesn't really show anything in Zaporozhye but that is from yesterday, right here. But more is the Ukrainians who kept shelling this area. The blue little dots here are Ukrainian attacks, bombardments, shelling, how we want to call it. And you see the Ukrainians do it, not the Russians. So, according to the General Staff in the temporary occupied territories, the Russian invaders continue to use educational institutions for their own purposes. Of course, they took over. That, according to their law, those areas belongs to Russia right now. What do you want them to do? Just look at them? By setting up their military facilities there and using students and teaching staff as human shields. Okay, yeah, all right. I already know that, and I'm not going to use these things because usually here is where is the BS, and I'm not reading this. I'm not, no. As reported by Ukrinform, the Russian army has already lost approximately 180. I'm going to put it here if you want to guys read it right there. Approximately 180,050 personnel and thousands of pieces of military equipment. The full-scale war waged against Ukraine. Now, why don't I read that? Is because over there they tell us, I'm going to make a little summary, the Russians kill only civilians, destroy only civilian infrastructure, they do all atrocities that you can imagine, and it's only they who do it. The other guys, no. So that's why. So that's for kids, and I'm pretty sure something like this occurs, but it's every day is like exhausting. And the thing is, this is what the Ukrainians are saying. If you read what the Russians are saying, they picked up on that, and in about, late 5 months ago, they started doing the same thing, telling us, if you see a little rocket or a shelling of a village or somewhere, it's a village and you got a house, private house that was blown up or something. Okay, all right, what else? Well, I got it, they're both war criminals. Okay, move on. Who's winning? What's going on? That's what I care. These guys, okay, that's not that I don't care about those guys, but it's like right now when I do an update, I don't want to, 3 houses were blown up and 3 cattle were cut in pieces and 3 chicken flew away and they lost 5 pigs because they ran in the woods. I don't care about that. I don't cover that. So anyway, this is a short update. I'm sorry I don't have the Russian update on this one, but we have to be satisfied for now with the Ukraine update. It's evening, so tomorrow probably the Russians will update for last year or something. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.